The mythos of the Divine Maid. When the first night had come upon the world, the mistress of all things stood alone once more, as she had in the beginning. For a terrible abyss had opened to lie between the world and she, and her creatures could not look upon her brightness. And she stood in contemplation upon the waters of the first darkness. Like a great dove upon the waters she brooded. And she became absorbed within her and communed with her own self, and her light ceased to shine forth from her, and yet her light grew greater. And she fell to her knees, and the surface of the waters became turbulent, and the great waves curled over her, and their white foam could not be seen in all that darkness. And when the waters became calm again, the mistress of all things rose to her feet, for she had conceived a daughter that was not separate from her, but one with her, and the child of her light. And she walked across the seas and deep into the forest of the earth until she came upon the deep cave that was at the center, and she entered the cave. And a star rose above the sacred grove that lay about the cave, brighter and more resplendent than all the stars of the heavens. And the star was seen all over the earth, and the children of the earth were filled with wonder. And they came to the place where the star stood in the sky, and those that were princesses among them brought their crowns to the sacred grove as gifts, and shepherdesses brought the new-dropped lambs, and all the daughters of the earth brought forth the fruits thereof to lay before the cave. But before the cave stood Ajania of Dea, robed in a garment so white that the eyes of earth's children were dazzled, and with a countenance of such great beauty that it was a fearful thing to look upon it. And the daughters of the earth covered their eyes and threw themselves to the ground. And the voice of the Jania was like to the rushing of 1,000 waters. And she spoke, saying, "Be not afraid, for a new light is dawning over the world. Be not afraid, but approach no further. For if you cannot look upon me, how should you look upon my lady, whose handmaiden I am?" And her voice grew gentle, like the wind among the icicles, and sweet beyond all telling. And she spoke, saying, "This night shall a child be born that shall be the daughter of light and the princess of all the world. A child is coming that shall carry the light of Dea into every part of creation, even to the most desolate of the places of darkness. Rejoice, poor wanderers of the earth and exiles from the house of your mother, for to you shall come a guide and a deliverer." And when the voice of the Jania ceased, a silence fell, that was the first true silence since the beginning of the world, and the last that shall be until it end. And the children of earth watched the sky as the first rays of dawn crept across the heavens, and a cry issued out of the cave, saying, "The Holy Child is born from the most holy Mother. Light has come forth from light, perfection from perfection." And at once the air was filled with the daughters of heaven, and the sky was ablaze with the radiance of their joy, and they sang aloud to the glory of Dea. And when the shining ones ceased from their song, the world became quiet again, and the star grew brighter and ever brighter until it shone more bright than the radiance of all the host of heaven, and yet so gentle was its light that the eyes of earth's children were not dazzled. And the color of the light was not one of the seven, but a wondrous luminance not known within the boundaries of the world. And the Jania at the cave's mouth called forth the children of the earth that they might present their gifts. And the 3 great princesses of the earth came forward. First the greatest of them, who ruled more land than either of the others, and also possessed more treasure. And her crown was of pure gold, and as she took it from her head, the light of the star fell upon it, and it shone with a glister more lovely than any earthly jewel. And she laid it at the feet of the Jania. And the Jania said, "It is good that you bring your crown, for you are a great princess, but the Holy Child shall be princess of all the world." The second princess held neither so much land nor treasure, but she was a maid of deep wisdom and meditation. Profound, and her crown was of pure silver, and as she took it from her head, the light of the star fell upon it, and it shone with a radiance yet more lovely than that of the golden crown. And she laid it at the feet of the Jania. And the Jania said, "It is good that you bring your crown, for you have great wisdom, but the Holy Child is the daughter of wisdom herself." The last princess possessed but few of the world's things, but she was a priestess of Dea, and she praised her in the morning, and at the evening, and at all the 7 hours of the day. And her crown was made from glittering crystal, and as she took it from her head, the light of the star fell upon it, and she was bathed in rays of 1,000 different hues. And the children of the earth drew in their breath at the sight of its beauty, and she laid it at the feet of the Jania. And the Jania said, "It is good that you bring your crown, for you are a true and loving priestess and a servant of your people. But the Holy Child shall be priestess of all the world, and shall serve her children even to the last and greatest service." And when the Jania ceased to speak, a new voice filled the air, more beautiful and more terrible than hers, and it said, Her name shall be called Inanna, for she shall be Lady of Heaven. And the star vanished from the sky, and yet its light remained. And the shape of the light became a vision, and the vision was a vision of the mistress of all things, bearing in her arms the Holy Child. And for all the wondrous things the children of earth had seen that night, not the whole of them was 1,000th part as wondrous as this vision. And for 12 nights the star returned to the sky, and on the 13th night it did not return. And this was a sign of things that were to come.